We want Will to sweat this one out. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the That's Good Broncos podcast. It is almost July and football news is dry. I'm your host, Brandon Perna. Will Keys is your other host, wearing bench warmer brew shirt like a very good, smart co-host. That's my coffee company. We have two roasts now. A dark or a medium and a little less than medium, but we have a dark roast we're going to launch Monday.
Oh, so the people have been asking about it.
Channel. We've partnered with another YouTuber. Who could it be? You got to come check it out to find out. Benchwarmerbrew.com. Really good coffee. Every order we fulfill when you buy the backup blend, we make a donation through the Faya Foundation to help feed people in need. So when you buy my coffee, you're doing something good for the world. Today's episode also brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app. You got to use code DNVR when you sign up to take advantage of their offers. So today on the show, an interesting thing happened with the Broncos ownership situation. Demaryius Thomas retired this week. I think, like a lot of people, I forgot he wasn't retired because he didn't play last year. So it's just kind of like it's just a shitty way to go out for a guy who was so damn good and was so good for so long. So we'll talk about DT a little bit. And what was the other thing, Will? Pretty much it. Oh yeah, it was John Elway's birthday on Monday, and it was your birthday, and you didn't sleep at all last night. So
we're gonna see. We're gonna run an experiment and see whether sleep is good or bad for the podcast.
Yeah.
Now, I slept before last week's podcast, and I don't feel like I performed very well.
Yeah, me neither.
However, I did not sleep last night. I probably shouldn't be complaining to you about that. You of all people.
I slept like a log.
I think that's the problem. That the prophecy states that neither of us can get a good night's sleep at the same time.
You will never listen or watch this podcast where both of us are well rested. One of us will be fighting our internal clock.
The sleep demons.
The sleep demons. Yeah, the things that give you night terrors.
Yeah, they visited me last night because the overwhelming heat.
Yeah, you're in that heat wave area, right? On top of just being in a hot town. Sacramento is so hot.
It is hot as hell, both metaphorically and in terms of the climate. It's a pretty hot place to be. I don't have a good segue, but you know what we're going to do? We're going to talk about the ownership situation. It's for a dumb layperson like me, it's kind of hard to wrap my mind around what all these legal terms mean.
Yeah.
I know what settlement means, you know?
Yeah. Because you've been sued several times.
I've had to settle in and out of court. I don't think you can settle in court. That'd be cool, though. I know what selling the team means. That sounds appealing to us fans. I think what it boils down to is that we all want a resolution very quickly, and I think that came to a head when the Broncos were forced to start Kendall Hinton, wide receiver, at quarterback last year, which was, we talk about it as an inspiring story on the individual level. It was also like fairly embarrassing because it didn't feel like there was anybody in our corner to say, hey, the NFL needs to do the right thing here and postpone the game.
Yeah, NFL didn't give a fuck.
Other teams.
Yeah. NFL didn't care because the Broncos weren't good. That was the real reason. It really had nothing to do with player safety or with COVID. All the other quarterbacks that were close contact continued to test negative. One of them should have been cleared to play. They could have moved the game. They could have done a lot of things, but also the Broncos didn't have a really well. I think after this is when teams started to have a isolated QB just in case of this sort of like scenario. The Broncos were ridiculed at the time, like they should have had a fucking guy away from everyone all the time forever. And then we learned like what the close contact meant, and it seemed like a pretty innocent sort of thing. It seemed like the Broncos were being cautious and it was just a minor little thing. Anyway, the NFL's like, you guys can take your time to find an owner. And then that happened. Like, it's time for you guys to find an owner. This is not how the Broncos should be run and handled and managed. Even though that's not really an ownership thing, but I think, it's time to settle this shit. There's 3 things I want to say before I forget. First one, if you are super rich, don't have a lot of kids. Maximum kids 3. Maximum kids 3, because
no half children or half brother or sister.
Yeah.
That complicates things.
Yeah, because if you have more than 3, like
you can't have a half children.
This is
yeah.
I mean,
I was thinking like a step kid that isn't quite one of the rest of them.
Right.
I'm thinking of the Connor character in Succession, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have a half child, just the left side.
Exactly.
Continue.
So don't have a lot of kids, because if you want your legacy, your family legacy to live on through them, it ain't going to happen with that many. There's too many cooks in the kitchen. It's not going to work out. And that's what's happening with the Bullens. Second thing. All right. July 12th, there was supposed to be a court date. We were going to learn what was going on. It was the 2 oldest Bolen children from his first marriage versus the rest of the kids and the trust, I believe. That has been canceled. It has been thrown out. So my thought is one of those sides had the brains, the foresight to hire Frank D. Azar, the strong arm, the guy you call in Colorado when shit goes bad, the Saul Goodman of in Denver. And when the other side found out Frank D. Azar was coming to bat for them, they said, no, this is not going to go to court. We can make this work outside. So that means either the 2 older children or the trust have agreed to give in to one side or the other. Will and I are going to try and kind of figure out maybe what that means, because it either means the team will be sold or that the trust is going to agree to appoint Brittany. She's the youngest one who's supposed to run the team, the one they're grooming.
Yeah, she was the heir apparent.
Yeah.
Out of 4 of them? 5? 7?
7? 5?
We know there's Beth, Brittany, Johnny.
I think there's 5. I think there's 3 women and 2 men.
Pat Jr. somewhere.
Yeah.
Gotta be a Patrick.
I think 2 kids from the first marriage, 3 from the second.
Oh, so you do have the half brother / half sister. That really is complicating things.
Yeah. So, right. So either the oldest children have agreed to let the trust give the team to Brittany, or everyone has agreed that selling the team is the best option. And that's what we'll find out next. I think that's what's happening.
Yeah. I would like to point out that there's a staggering amount of money involved, and it makes their like spiteful personal, issue, little quarrel amongst themselves, very unrelatable to the common folk like you and I.
Yeah. They're basically fighting whether or not each of them taking a few $100 million now is the best course of action, or continuing to hold on to the team, where I think it was Pro Football Focus said NFL teams value is like expected to triple over the next several years due to the impact of legalized sports betting. So it's like if you hold on to the team for a few more years, it's worth like 3 billion-ish now. It might be worth like, I think they're saying like most of the teams are gonna be worth $9 or $10 billion. So you can have a couple hundred million now, or you can hold on to it and have a couple hundred more million later.
Yeah. I feel like at a certain point, the difference between like 200 million and 300 million feels kind of negligible. But then again,
Yeah,
I've never had, you know, a million to start with. So
yeah.
what do I know?
I think it's like you got $300 million cash. You can probably make a couple hundred million over the next few years in investments. You can lose
Yeah.
it too, I guess, but
Yeah,
I
I
think
feel
when
like
you're that
there's one
rich,
of them that's definitely going to lose it out
Yo-
of the kids.
yeah, it's Johnny Bolin.
Yeah,
Johnny
he seems
Bolin.
like the only one who knows how to burn $300 million in a weekend.
Yeah. Yeah. If you and I ever are given $300 million,
Yeah.
we will take one weekend where we try to spend as much money as we can and see what happens.
Yeah. And we can't like buy property.
No, not like you can't, like we can't just go out and buy, $100 million skyscraper. I don't know how much,
It
or
has
like
to be something like consumable or good.
yeah, maybe it's like a limit on every item you spend can't cost more than, $50,000 or something. So it's like just trying to spend stupid money like a rich person could do, but for an entire weekend with no cap, except on like, because you could blow it if you just bought a bunch of super, like if you tried to buy, you could blow it on trying to buy the Broncos. You know what I mean? But
yeah, very quickly.
it's like going to Vegas, you're ordering bottle service for 9 hours, all of it the best. Then you buy all the strippers. Then you rent a Lamborghini because you can't purchase it. You got to rent it. I don't know how much that costs.
Jet skis.
Yeah.
Jet skis can't be that much, but
you pay
they
some
feel like
people
a
to
rich
fight each other
person
for your pleasure.
mode of transportation.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Just like pure cruel entertainment, like bum fights. Bum fights would be that feels like a great way to like the richest way to spend money.
No,
in the most
the richest
Patrick Bateman way possible.
Yeah. The even more baller way though is to be so rich that you pay less rich people to fight each other for the money. So it's still enough money that it entices them to fight each other. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's like real fuck you money.
Yeah.
I think yeah. So if you want to contribute to this endeavor, we're going to set up a GoFundMe. And the goal will be say like 25 million. I think that's enough.
Yeah, I think I tuned into the DNVR Broncos podcast, and they were trying to calculate if they started a GoFundMe, what percentage of the money needed to buy the Broncos could they actually maybe get?
I'm going to assume that there's a 0 and then a decimal involved.
Yeah, it's because it's a price tag. So that's the thing. It's like, all right, I think you and I are on the same page where we kind of just want the team to be sold because as much as we all love Pat Bowlen, it's not him running the team. And maybe Brittany's can do it. But I think you're taking a risk, obviously, by selling it. But I think there's probably just better options out there in terms of you want somebody who's going to be like, who's not just rich enough to purchase the team, but is ultra competitive. You know what I mean? Somebody who wants to buy the team that also wants to win, and not somebody who's just going to buy the team and then It's just like another revenue stream that they're not interested in dominating with. And so like Peyton Manning and the Manning family's name gets thrown around a lot. And of course, everybody's like, well, where's the money? Where they can get the money from? Well, it's not just them. They're the type of people who have enough money, enough clout in the NFL where they can be a part of an investment group that comes in and purchases the team. It was rumored before Manning was here that Elway was going to be the next guy, that he was lobbying with some like fucking oil money to eventually buy the Broncos. And you know, that never happened obviously, but, I don't know like what that actually looks like. I don't know how much control the Mannings would get in that situation, but I think Peyton Manning is the number one choice by Broncos fans to be the owner. I don't know how feasible it is, but are there any other billionaires out there that you would be excited about purchasing the team? I know I'm throwing the curveball, you will.
No, it's okay.
So I'll try to speak slow to give you time to think.
I think I can tell you who I don't want, and I don't want Jeff Bezos to buy the team. I think I think he's got his hand in too many
cookie pussies.
Too many cookie pussies. That's the word. That's the worst version of the Cookie Monster possible. Yeah, and it feels like he would just automate everything in the stadium, and you'd be buying a hot dog from like just a
robot.
Hole. Yeah,
like the fans are dropped in by drone to their seats.
Yeah. I mean, that's like basically what the 49ers stadium is like, and that place is just hell on earth.
Although, I'll say this. If you thought the Patriots were decent at figuring out ways to spy on other teams, I think Bezos blew them out of the water with the way that he could spy on the rest of the NFL just through probably coaches and people who have their Amazon taps and echoes and shit in their house. The kind of information he could pinpoint about playbooks, about all that shit.
No, trust me, I thought about it, but he would also
being able to spy.
Not really. Definitely day one, first thing he does is replace Vic Fangio with an artificial intelligence version of Vic Fangio, where he just like comes up with the worst analytics in terms of clock management, but manages to be way less charismatic and likable. So truly the best or the worst of both worlds, I should say.
10 years into the Bezos regime, and we don't know which players are human and which aren't.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a risk.
Yeah, he could get rid of bodies. Easy.
I think he's gotten rid of at least 10 today.
Yeah. I want J.K. Simmons to play Jeff Bezos in the Amazon biopic.
Do you think there's a chance that Jeff Bezos has already turned himself into a cyborg?
Oh, maybe.
You look at him and you see a guy whose face isn't entirely human.
Yeah.
I feel like Chris Carter. Now there's a guy who definitely has robotic implants in his body.
Here's a guy. Here's a guy. Here's a guy. Here's a guy. Only Mahomes. No, here's the thing. Think about this, Will. Jeff Bezos, you want him to buy the team because I'm pretty sure if Jeff Bezos buys the team, he already knows that they're going to be successful. He's been to the future already. So he's just coming back and being like, oh yeah, this is the team I want to buy because I've already been to the future. I see all the Super Bowls I'm going to win as their team owner, and this is how we're going to do it. I think that's why Washington football team ended up keeping Dan Fuckface Snyder
and his wife.
Yeah, now his wife's going to co-run the team, so he looks less like a scuzz bucket. Yeah. So Bezos, because he was linked to Washington for a little bit. I don't think he's actually been linked to Denver. It's just he's a guy he has the money, and it's been rumored that he wants a team.
Right.
Anybody
He
else?
has
Are there any players out there that are actually interested in buying the Broncos?
yeah, so I've got Forbes list of billionaires in front of me. Bezos, I know that your net worth is not equal to your buying power, but he's got a net worth of 198.1 billion. I'm assuming by sundown he'll pass 200. You got Musk at 3, Bill Gates is 4th. The Zuck is at 125 bills at 5th overall.
Yeah.
Warren Buffett, I don't think he seems a little too sleepy,
Old?
a little too old, he's kind of low T in terms of trying to win. Steve Ballmer, I know he owns the Clippers, but damn, I would love him. Just the energy
Yeah.
he brings. And I think usually owners sit in boxes, but I think you could bring Steve Ballmer out on the sideline to act as a hype man. Yeah. So that's someone I would certainly be interested in. Michael Bloomberg, absolutely not. Can't even get close to winning a primary. There's someone else I was thinking of, but yeah. So did you see that story about the first black billionaire? There was a story about him. I don't know his name off the top of my head, but I saw it on Twitter. And the story was that he became a billionaire, but he still wants reparations. And I think that level of competition and that level of spite is exactly what you need to be a good NFL owner. So I'm going to look up that guy's name, but I think he's the right man for the job.
I like that. I like Elon Musk because Elon, I think, is not scared to lose money investing in shit he believes in.
True. I don't think he much cares for football, though.
Maybe.
He doesn't strike me as an avid football watcher. I could be wrong.
No.
Maybe, though.
I don't know. Woody Page wrote an article back in December. His guy is Robert Frederick Smith.
Frederick Smith? That sounds like someone making it. It sounded like you made that name up as you were saying it.
Is that who he's talking about?
Okay, so we got the guy who I was referring to is Robert L. Johnson, who is the founder of BET. Yeah.
Robert Frederick Smith from Colorado, net worth $8.65 billion. CEO of a private equity firm. So he's the kind of billionaire, Robert F. Smith, who you don't even know what the fuck he does.
No,
private equity firm. I don't know what that means.
No, it's mumbo jumbo to me. I'm assuming it's just like it's money laundering.
Okay. I see why. Okay. Robert F. Smith, son of William Robert Smith. So technically he's a son of A. Will Smith.
No. So Jaden
Smith. Pretty cool.
He's basically Jaden Smith.
He's alt version of Jaden Smith. Interesting.
We got a ton of options here.
Yeah.
Tons of potential owners. Again, this could just end up in a settlement, and Brittany Bolin, once she gets out of her conservatorship, she could end up being the owner. I don't think that's going to happen, though. I don't, those family feuds, the non-Steve Harvey type, are very, very difficult to resolve.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a complicated labyrinth of personalities to weave through. My plan is to purchase the Broncos. That's Good Sports. And I'm going to do that by betting all my money at DraftKings Sportsbook. Not only my favorite sportsbook, but also America's top-rated sportsbook, period. Now, I love using DraftKings Sportsbook because it's easy to navigate, has plenty of instructions for new bettors, and nearly limitless ways to get in on all of the action. My friends and family have been loving DraftKings Sportsbook, and I know you will too. So listen to this great offer. DraftKings Sportsbook is putting you courtside with a chance to turn $1 into $100 in site credits. That's right. Pick any basketball team that is still in contention. Bet $1, and if that team wins, you win $100 in site credits. Don't forget, DraftKings Sportsbook also offers great odds and promotions on baseball, hockey, and so much more. DraftKings safe, secure, reliable, so you can deposit and withdraw your billions of dollars at your convenience. Download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code DNVR when you sign up to turn $1 into $100 in free credits. Bet on the basketball team of your choice to win their next game, and if they do, you will claim $100 in free credits. That's promo code DNVR for a limited time, only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Got to be 21 or older, Colorado only, new customers only, wagers paid out, inside credits, restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700. All right, you want to talk a little bit about Demaryius Thomas?
Let's talk about DT. So
DT.
he retired as a Bronco a couple days ago.
Yeah.
Spent 10 years in the NFL. 8.5 of them were with the Broncos. Felt like, no, that sounds about right, I think. He was a former first-round pick, and people tend to forget this is not an Elway pick. It's a Josh McDaniels pick.
Josh McDaniels pick.
Daniels nailed his wide receivers.
He literally had sex with them.
He had sex with them. He also picked ones that are good at catching the football. Him and Eric Decker in the same draft.
Yep.
Pretty much a home run. He was taking over Dez Bryant, which I thought was correct.
Yeah.
I think DT was and I'm biased. You're biased. We're all biased here. He was definitely better than Dez Bryant. No doubt.
Yeah, I think Dez played longer with good QB play than DT, but DT had just as good, if not better, numbers in some cases. I think like Dez only had more touchdowns than him or something like that.
Yeah, and DT also played with guys like Tim Tebow and Trevor Siemian and
Kyle Orton,
Paxton Lynch.
Yeah.
So other guys that were taken that year: Golden Tate, Emmanuel Sanders, and Antonio Bryant, Mike Wallace, Riley Cooper. So they're gonna have a video tribute for Demaryius Thomas week 3. Which is the home opener against the Jets, and he's going to be an honorary captain. I'm assuming, when he's eligible, he'll be in the Ring of Fame and all that. I think you have to wait like 5 years, right?
Yeah, I don't know what the deal is.
Something like that. So just to go into his accomplishments, he's a 4-time Pro Bowler, a shade under 10,000 yards in his career, 63 touchdowns. 6 touchdowns and 750 yards in just 10 playoff games. He was very clutch in the playoffs, aside from like a couple of games when they won the Super Bowl. His peak was probably the 2014 season when he had 111 receptions, a little over 1,600 yards, 11 touchdowns. And then I thought this was pretty telling, but he was very likely the best wide receiver in the NFL from 2012 to 2014. So 3-year span, 4,483 yards, 35 touchdowns.
Them is some nice fantasy numbers. You should add DT on fantasy those years.
You really should have. So I want to ask you a couple questions about this, but I've got a lot of favorite memories of Demaryius Thomas. There's a lot of good ones. What's your favorite?
Well, I've mentioned it several times on this podcast before, but it's when I saw him coming out of the elevators after the Super Bowl victory in the players' hotel, and he was just dressed in an all-white suit, ready to go out and just fucking plow through the town of San Francisco. And
I don't remember you talking about this.
oh, he looked like the biggest, strongest angel I've ever seen in my life. The suit was so badass. It was like I saw, I think Emmanuel Sanders and Aqib Talib right before that because they were like leaving right as I got there. I was like, fuck,
Yeah.
I missed the party. And they looked like they were just going out to party. You know what I mean? Like they looked good. They were like dressed up, but DT just came out in just decked out in just full white suit, head to toe, looked sharp as shit. And I was like, that is a bad looking man right there. And I was just like, he's so cool. He's so much cooler than I will ever be or ever have been in that moment. Also, I posted the drunk clip where he was saying "fuck you, Tom Brady" with the fans at the bar. That happened some offseason years ago. Obviously, we touched on this a little bit in the episode. The Steelers game, that touchdown was pretty key for me. Just because I was in LA. I was watching it with like one of the very few other football fans I knew. It was just me and him at his apartment, and we never really hung out that much, the guy I was watching with, but like I just didn't think the Broncos were going to win that game either. So they went in on a 3-game losing streak.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And this is our first playoff appearance since 2005.
Yeah, I'll feel that way. Like if the Broncos get to the playoffs this year, I'll be that like skeptical. So that I just remember being so like overjoyed and just in that moment being able to appreciate the victory because I knew they were probably not going to win any more games in that postseason. Like I knew, I enjoyed the ride with Tebow, but I didn't believe like that was sustainable. So I think I know that one's like a cliche answer, but fuck, man, that was a good one.
That was, yeah, that one just felt like the biggest jolt of lightning any of us will ever get in our sports watching lives.
Yeah.
I don't think anything will ever like compare to the go. Like
yeah,
everybody was watching that, like yelling those exact words, watching him stiff arm Mike Taylor and go down the sideline. Incredible. And he did that stuff like pretty frequently.
Yeah.
There's a period of time where you threw him a screen pass, a little bubble screen, and if you got one good block, he was gone.
Yeah, nobody was more dangerous on the bubble screen than DT. And that might be in NFL history.
Yeah, and the Broncos haven't had a guy like that since. And that play was so ridiculously effective. One of my favorite memories was just the first time he stepped on the field, which was week 2 back in 2010. And he went off against the Seahawks, scored a touchdown. I think he had like 9 catches or something like that. And you're like, oh, yeah, we nailed this pick. This worked. That was incredible. That one-handed catch he had against the Chiefs in 2012, I think that was week 17. That's like one of the best catches in Broncos history.
That catch was –
it was just like these are elite athletes, and he is the most elite among them. And, finally, like Super Bowl 48 being the only bright spot in that game, the only reason we scored. Like imagine if we got shut out in that game, if we were the only shutout in Super Bowl history. I thank DT every day for sparing us from that fate. So he will truly, I mean, he's been missed since 2018.
Yeah.
We still miss him. We've got plenty of good wide receivers on the roster, but he's just a reliable dude. I mean, he dropped a lot of passes, to be fair, but he seemed to come up clutch in big games.
Yeah, he rarely dropped big passes, which was weird. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. near the end, his hands got a little slippery, and it just felt like a mental thing.
Yeah, it also feels like when you don't have a good quarterback, you drop more passes.
Yeah, I think bizarrely, like he was better at catching ducks. He seemed like he was really good at catching floaters from Tebow and Manning.
Yeah. There's some
So maybe
highlights of
he
him
should
reeling
figure
in
that
some of
out.
those balls, and you're like, oh, that was not a pretty pass coming in.
I mean, he played college football at Georgia Tech where they run the triple option. So, like, he wasn't used to refined passing or just, like tight spirals, I guess.
Right.
If you want to call it. Manning was certainly refined.
He was good at catching the junk.
He did. Another moment I want to put in there is he didn't do a ton his rookie season, but he did catch a touchdown over Darrelle Revis in Darrelle Revis's prime.
Oh, yeah.
That was noteworthy.
Revis Island got tsunamied by DT.
Yeah, Champ Bailey's better. We all know it.
I think DT's biggest game was that 2014 season against Arizona. Yeah. 226 receiving yards, 2 tutties on 8 catches.
Yeah, he had that deep one down the sideline. He also had a 3 touchdown game that season against the Dolphins, I believe.
Oh, yeah. That was a close game, 39-36. In that Arizona game, he was targeted 16 times, just 8 catches.
Well, I made him count.
Yeah.
I mean, if he was averaging, I don't want to do math on the fly here. I'm going to go with like 30 yards a reception. I would also target him almost every play.
Yeah.
I think that was probably the right decision there. Do you think he's the best in franchise history, or is that still Rod Smith?
Man, it's tough. I think Demaryius Thomas was more physically gifted than Rod Smith. I think if DT played with Manning longer, people would put DT as the top receiver in Broncos history. And Rod Smith performed though after Elway too. So you got to factor that in. And they're just a little bit different, and the game was a little bit different too.
Mm-hmm.
But man, Rod Smith was so good. Like,
yeah, you would have wanted both of them at the same time because like DT wasn't the most consistent, but like you said, the most physically gifted, the most explosive, the most capable of putting together a 200-yard game, scoring 3 touchdowns, like really going off. But Rod Smith was just kind of like always there. Wasn't going to drop passes, good route runner, got open, hard worker, kind of just like a team leader. So they didn't intersect ever with the Broncos. They missed each other by a few years, but if you could have paired the two of them together, that would have been one of the most like perfect complementary receiver trios or duos.
Yeah, I mean, fuck. Rod Smith had 1,600 receiving yards in the year 2000. So that's after Elway. 2001, 1,343 yards. 2002, 1,000 yards. 03, just 845, but then 04, 1,100 yards. 05, 1,100 yards. Like, that's just consistent, man. That's just like a reliable, really, really good player. So, yeah, I think I would give the edge to Rod Smith. But I would take either guy.
Yeah, I mean, neither of us are like into who's better, that kind of thing, like who's the best.
No.
Purely
like circumstances are different, players are different. What's cool is that Rod Smith and Ed McCaffrey both had
100 catches,
100+ catch seasons. I think they were 1,000+ receiving yard seasons too.
Yeah, I would have to be.
And then Sanders and DT both had 1,000+ yard seasons together. It's just, I think it's impressive when your offense has two guys that do that. Because it doesn't happen as often as I think you think it does.
No, it doesn't, and we kind of got used to it for a while, and you notice it when the production as a team drops off. So let's hope that the next one of those is already on the roster with Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy.
Yeah.
It could happen.
Hey, it could happen.
It could happen. Why not?
The fuck is this shit? Oh, there it is. Yeah, so with Brian Greasy, Rod Smith had 11 touchdown, 1,343 yard season. That's crazy.
Pretty good for a season with Brian Greasy and presumably who else was starting for Brian Greasy because he was injured just about every year.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Had to
tripping over his dogs or some shit.
Yeah. So probably a few of those yards from like Gus Farad or Charius Jackson or someone.
Yeah, I was thinking like we should do a Broncos draft where you and I each try to build the best ever Broncos team using only Broncos players for a podcast. Because we'll need something to talk about probably unless Aaron Rodgers gets here within the next month. But if we go back and forth, it might be interesting to see the two teams that we come up with.
I think that's a great idea. Let's do that before the preseason starts.
Yeah.
So
we won't do it once football starts again.
6 weeks to do that. Good omen. I finally got an Xbox Series X.
Oh,
waiting for that for a long time. I should say it's in the mail. Fingers crossed doesn't get intercepted by warlords.
Yes,
I think that's a good sign for Aaron Rodgers because he too feels somewhat like an Xbox Series X. Like he's available, but not really available, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
If you wait long enough, good things will come. And I feel that way with Rodgers too.
So I should get one of those now.
Yeah. No, definitely. And we'll
both have Xbox Series X's, then Rodgers confirmed Broncos.
That's what I'm trying to say in my most scientific opinion.
Well, he could opt out by Friday, and we'll just do this all over again next.
He's got about 48 hours by the time of this recording.
Yep.
So hopefully.
Come on, Rodgers. And yes, for the three of you who every time I tweet about Aaron Rodgers asking if I would take him over developing Drew Lock, the answer is yes. It is an unresounding yes. Even if Drew Lock turns out to be good, I would take Aaron Rodgers. Drew Lock can be a perennial Pro Bowler. I would take Aaron Rodgers. He's that special. And he's got multiple years left to do it. So
he's very special.
I like being the team that gets the older guy to come in. I want to see it happen one more time because then the next aging dude that I think we can get content. We got content, baby.
Yeah. It's we need it for business. Well,
it's like 10 years from now, Justin Herbert's going to come finish his career in Denver and finally win a Super Bowl.
Man, I really wish we had picked Justin Herbert.
Yeah. Like if there's a quarterback I was genuinely impressed by last year that sort of just surprised me, it was Herbert.
And people would have made fun of us either way for taking Josh Allen and Justin Herbert. Like the Broncos would have gotten trashed for either of those picks. And in both cases, they would have been
good,
the best possible.
Yeah. I guess you got to worry if you take a QB and nobody trashes you for it, though.
Well, we didn't take a quarterback and we got trashed for it. this year.
Yeah.
So
Guilty.
I think we're both a little guilty of that, but maybe that's a good sign.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for listening to this podcast. Hope you enjoy the 4th of July weekend. Of course, 4th of July, very, very significant. It is when this country was invented by God.
Yeah. George Washington landed that plane in the Hudson River.
When George Washington landed on this planet,
when he landed on the
from
moon.
outer space,
Yeah.
claimed America as the greatest superpower to ever exist. We said July 4th is the day that happened. I think we're stumbling onto a great July 4th sci-fi movie idea.
Starring Nicolas Cage.
As alien George Washington on America's birthday. Fuck yeah.
It feels perfect. Like, he stole the Declaration of Independence. Now he comes back and plays George Washington.
Yes.
I think I'm gonna found America. It's my best Cage.
I could eat a peach for hours.
Call me by your name.
All right, good night. And John Elway's ACL had a birthday.
Good luck.